I'm Jeannie Price. I am the current chair of the CPAFMA for a few more hours. Y'all have been here all week. You know you should have been scanned as you came in the door to get your CPE, so we're good there. I'm excited today to introduce our speaker. Marcey Rader is an award-winning speaker, sought-after productivity coach, accredited wellness expert, and author of 3 books. As the founder of Rader Co, she helps CPAs kick their lifestyles back into balanced gear without sacrificing health. She packs presentations with advice to declutter the mind, body, and business, one habit at a time. Accountants from North Dakota to Dubai learn to escalate their energy, conquer the calendar, master tasks, and extinguish email. Here's Marcey.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
2 years ago, if I would have done this presentation, we probably could have used about a quarter of this room. Raise your hand if you were remote before COVID. Okay, so partially? Yeah, so maybe like a day or two was an option? Okay. I'm not active here. So while we're waiting to get active, any apps, programs, references, resources that I talk about today are in a downloadable digital go-to guide, and thank you. As of this morning, it was not in the conference app. I think it just didn't get uploaded, but I've sent them an email and it will be there at some point, probably by the end of today. There's also going to be a tip sheet as well. And at the end, for the people on the Zoom or on the webinar, there's going to be a link for them to click on to get more resources if they would like, and for you as well, because we don't have it up yet. If you want to just leave me your business card, I can make sure that we send that go-to guide or tip sheet to you in case you miss it on the app. So the 5 things that we're going to talk about are communication, trust with working remotely, sharing information, how to have effective one-to-ones, and proper remote setups. I have been working remotely since 2003, so I have a little bit of street cred. And I have managed people working remotely since 2005. And I've probably managed over 70, 80 people total since then. Those 5 things were the things that come up the most last year with COVID, when people went remote. I want you to think about the next 75 minutes like a buffet. Now, most people, and I'm not going to look at anybody, but most people do not eat every single thing on a buffet. I do not expect you to take every single thing that I talk about today and put it into practice. Some of you might have allergies to what's on the buffet. You may have an allergy to something that I say. It may be that you don't like it or you can't do it. That's okay. It's just your allergy. You move to the next dish, right? And lastly, there may be something on that buffet that you make at home. You already do it in your office, but I have a little bit different tweak. So we're taking something you already do and we're just changing it a little bit. What are some of the challenges that you all are having with communication, with working remote? Shout it out, raise your hand, I don't care. Challenges with working remote.
Everybody does their own thing.
Everybody does their own thing. What else? Not available?
Don't have as much interaction, like personal interaction.
Don't have as much personal interactions. Okay. One more? Delays.
Like you wait for someone to respond.
Right. So delays in response. Asynchronous communication, where it's just like communicate out and then you wait. Communicate out and then you wait. Here's the thing about that asynchronous communication in working remotely. It feels like more of a disruption when you are interrupted when you are working remotely than if you are in an office. When you are in an office environment, you expect to be interrupted. You expect for people to do drive-bys past your desk, right? You expect for people to knock on your door or say, hey, what was up with whatever account? But when you are remote, you're not expecting that. So every ring, ping, buzz notification feels like more of a disruption and is more of a distraction to your focus. There are pros and cons to both working in an office and working remotely. But the 2-minute chats or the drive-bys that we used to have in an office, or that you used to have in an office, have now become a 30-minute Zoom call, right? You feel like you have to schedule a call for everything, and nobody schedules a call for 5 minutes, right? Or for 2 minutes. It's like, I just have a 2-minute question. And nobody uses the telephone anymore, right? I mean, it's very rare. It's like if somebody calls me, I'm like, what is this? Hello? Because people either want to text me, email me, or schedule a meeting. I'm 46 years old. I do still use the phone. And sometimes when I call people, my largest client, every time I call them, they could be in a meeting. They will pick up and they'll say, everything okay? I say, yeah. I just wanted to ask you about so-and-so. Oh, okay, I'm in a meeting. Can I get back to you? I just thought there was an emergency. Because I called and used my voice. Yeah. So communication can be a challenge. When we're thinking about distractions, think about your focus like driving on the highway. You're driving 70 miles per hour, 80 miles per hour. You are in the zone. You get from point A to point B. You don't even know how you got there. You're in the zone. Compare that to driving downtown or driving in heavy traffic. Every time you are stopped, you are not back up to 70 miles per hour immediately, right? Or if you're downtown, you're not back up to 20 miles per hour immediately. 5, 10, 15, another stop sign. 10, 20, 30, stopped again. Every time you are interrupted, that is like a punch to your attention and your focus. Even more so when you work remotely, because we're not expecting it. Every time we are interrupted, it is a decision. And all of those interruptions throughout the day deplete our willpower and our discipline and can lead to decision fatigue. All of those chats, calls, emails, texts are decreasing our focus. The number one thing you can do, and it doesn't matter if you work at home or in an office, to increase your focus and attention span and decrease your mistakes and increase your productivity by up to 40%, is to turn off your notifications. The horror. They are not there to make you more productive. We think because they are the default and that they're on, that it's there to help us. We've gotten used to it and we think that this is the best way to work. They are on as the default because we get a dopamine response every time we get one. And our brain likes it and we want more of it and we get used to it. We get used to that dopamine response. Guess what else gives you a dopamine response? Gambling. Gambling does it too. So turning these off, and if you don't know how, it's in the go-to guide. instructions with screenshots and everything. But reading a subject line of one notification does not help you in the middle of another email, right? It'd be like if I was carrying on a conversation with you, said one sentence to you, and came back to the conversation with you. I can't even try to do that because I know I would mess up. When people went remote, because I've been training on how to work well remotely for about 15 years now. So my business really blew up last year. As you can imagine, over-communication was the biggest thing. I am getting emails, chats, texts, they're coming at me from all directions. So the first thing we do is to turn off the notifications. Because here's where they're coming from. Email, Zoom. Now that we're remote, text, because you probably didn't text your coworkers before that often, but now you text them. Some people use Microsoft Teams. Anybody in here use Microsoft Teams? Oh, yeah, wow, a lot. Yeah. It's not like, now I'm getting Teams chats. Slack, anybody use Slack? Yep. Now I'm getting Slack chats all the time. We need to step back because the challenge was we didn't get to plan for it, right? We didn't get to put the things in place. We just had to immediately go home. So it was like wild, wild west in the remote world. We didn't know how bad it was going to be. We also thought it might be temporary. So we didn't feel like we need to put these processes in place because it's just going to be like a month. So we send an email, we call them, we text them, we Slack them, we Teams them, always. Raise your hand if you get an email and somebody texts you or calls you right after. Yeah. Okay. Now just wink at me if you're that person. You know you are. You know you are. You've done it. You've done it. Decision trees. Now this, it's very hard to read. This is the extreme version of a decision tree, but I worked with a company called Tevitt last year. Oh, I guess it was still this year. No, it was last year. And they said the communication is crazy. So they came up with a decision tree and laid it out, printed it, sent it to all their staff, said, hang this by your desk. What's on here is not important as far as the words. But they have, these are the issues, this is who you contact or CC, and they said immediately things got better. Because what happened was, especially for people in hierarchical positions, CEOs, founders, directors, VPs, managers, they get copied on everything, right? Copied on everything. So this made it very clear for people. When this is the issue, this is the person I contact by this channel. So if you don't have decision trees in place, this could be one of the first things that you do. Who in here manages other people? Okay. Do your people know when, if this happens, email me. If this happens, text me. If this happens, get on the phone. No, probably not. Because we don't communicate, these are the channels. So we have to train people the best way to work with us. I am a big fan of video to shorten video. Who is tired of video meetings? Yeah, a little bit. So I've been doing video, I coach over video, been doing that for years. It didn't seem tiring until I also started doing every single meeting and call over video too. And there's a reason why video is tiring. For one thing, if it's a group, we're seeing different backgrounds, and our eyes are trying to decipher what all is going on in different backgrounds. We also get this toy soldier thing going on, right? Where we're kind of afraid to move. And if we were in a room, if we were sitting in a room together and I looked like this, you would know that I was looking at the door. But if we're on the screen and I look like this, you're like, what is she looking at? Did somebody just walk in her house? Is there a bird outside her window? What's going on? And so there's all these things going on in our head, and we also feel very stiff about it. So there's a lot of reasons why it's tiring. But then also, it just feels weird to schedule a 5-minute meeting when that's all we really need people for. I eliminate so many of my team meetings, or shorten them, by doing very quick videos over Loom. Loom is my platform of choice. You can also do this over BombBomb or Vimeo, but I like Loom. Loom, they're videos of 5 minutes or less. So you have to be succinct. If I am training somebody, I just pull up, share my screen, do a quick Loom, zip it off to them. You could also do this with Zoom, but it's actually just really fast with Loom because it's an extension in your computer. And you get the link immediately, you don't have to wait for it to download, it just goes to them. I did this with my accountant a few times. I do this with my bookkeeper because I am not good at QuickBooks, I'm just not. And so I will do a Loom video, and I will say, this invoice isn't matching up with this, and I need help, and I zip it off to her. It might be a 30-second video. But if I were to write all that out in an email, this is what I'm having problems with, I don't know how to match this invoice to this and that and this and this. That takes way too long, and it's complicated, and I might have to do screenshots and all this. Doing a short video. This could even be something as simple as a welcome video to your new clients. Or if somebody is moving into Xero, or QuickBooks, or FreshBooks, or whatever it is that you prefer they use. These are the 5 things you need to know. Or this is how to make your life easier. So communication. And I'm actually going to show you some examples with the Loom in a little bit. Another thing with communication, people say, I feel like I don't have company culture anymore. One of you said personal interaction. Yes. I don't have the personal interaction that I had before. And what we found was, just like with over-communication, people went to the extreme. And they were saying, let's have meetings every day. Let's check in every day. And a lot of leaders thought this was a good idea. But what I was hearing from the people under the leaders was, oh my gosh, it's so much. It's so much to show up every day. And I also have all this other stuff going on. And now I have to schedule my whole day around this 8 o'clock stand-up meeting. So we do a stand-up meeting virtually every week. My team's always been virtual. There's 13, 14, 17 of us now. 5 of us that meet regularly. And when I say regularly, like once every other week, but we have this virtual stand-up that everybody completes on Fridays. And these are the questions that we ask. Super helpful for me, but also for them. Also shortens my one-to-ones with them. Questions are always, is there a bottleneck? The question there, this is a little bit old, this slide, does anything need to be streamlined? Or just, can we streamline anything? Because that's my jam. We're doing anything that is an extra step. I always want to know what their big win is. Can be personal or professional. Their top priorities, and did anybody stand out? We did it for 6 weeks, and this was a little bit new, and I asked them how they felt about it, and they loved it. So I started implementing this with a few companies that I work with. Same thing. They loved it because people would put some personal stuff in there if they wanted to, but it shortened their team meetings because what people found was they were spending a lot of time in team meetings talking about non-work related things, which is important, but then the meetings just went longer, and we're getting a little Zoom fatigued. So you could do something like this with the communication. Is there anybody in here that feels like they're doing something already that helps them to avoid over-communication, that they feel is effective? I can't be the only one with ideas. Yes?
We have Monday morning huddles to talk about top priorities for the upcoming 2 weeks, meetings we need to prep for.
Okay, so I'm going to repeat everything everyone says because we have people on the screen, okay? So you have Monday morning huddles over video, where everybody talks about their top priorities for the week?
For the upcoming 2 weeks.
For the upcoming 2 weeks. Okay, good. And how long are those meetings?
No more than an hour.
No more than an hour. How many people are on them?
4.
4. That's a long meeting for 4 people for top priorities. Are you really like getting into it with the details?
We have new people that we're training, so it's more to teach them what to focus on as they're prepping for meetings with the idea that they're shortening their time.
Okay, got it. So she has, they have new people that they've been also kind of using this for prepping and training. So with the video, I'm going to go back to the video then. One way that I use Loom videos, so we have that team meeting every other week, is if I'm going to introduce anything new, or we have new priorities for the quarter, we do 12-week year in here, if anybody's familiar with that. So we have different areas of focus each quarter. I present that in a 5-minute video first that they get the Friday before the meeting, and then that way they've had time to think about it and process what we're going to do, and then they're ready to come to the table on Monday with questions or solutions or ideas. So think about your meetings that you're having where you might be explaining a topic, sharing information, that you could just, give a quick Loom update first. This is also really good. So I'm in a Vistage group, which is a peer advisory group. And if for some reason I can't be there, I send my status update in a short video, 3 minutes or less. We spend a lot of time in meetings just doing status updates, right? But a lot of times status updates could just be a well-crafted email, or it could be a very short, like 2-minute or less, video for people. Okay. What challenges do you have with trust? Oh, do we have a question? Yeah, hit me. This is my moderator here for our people on the Zoom. Hi, people.
One thing we did is eliminate standing meetings unless there is an agenda. If no one sends agenda items, no meeting.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for sharing that. If there is no agenda, there is no meeting. Just catch up here when you need me. That's not a meeting. There needs to be an agenda, always. Even if that agenda item is 2 things or 1 thing. If it's 1 thing, we do that 1 thing, and then we're out of here. So I like that. Okay, so trust. That's a big one with remote workers, going both ways. Who feels like they have a hard time trusting their staff who work remotely. Okay. You can wink at me if you don't want to admit it. Okay. Who in here feels like they can't leave their house for 10 minutes during the day because somebody might think that they're not working? Yeah. It goes both ways. Some managers have a hard time trusting, but then also the people working remotely feel like they're not trusted. And even if there has been no indication that their manager thinks that, it's some weird feeling, isn't it? It's so weird. If we were in an office, we would go out for lunch. But when we're at home, who goes out for lunch? You're afraid to. It feels weird to go out for lunch. What if somebody messages me, or what if somebody calls me? They think I'm not working. That is the thing that I hear more than anything from people at home when it comes to trust. Like, I feel like even if I start work at 7 in the morning, I work until 4. If somebody messages me at 5 or 6, I feel like I need to answer because I want them to know I was working. I had somebody just last week say that their dog needed to go to the vet, and they scheduled it for 6:30 p.m. because they didn't want to take out the half an hour during the day. Even though if they were in the office, they might have gone for lunch. It's just weird, isn't it? And it doesn't always make sense. Guardrails are important when you work from home because you actually tend to work more hours. The average workday increased in 2020 by 2 hours. 2 hours! America led the charge in that. Go. So there's a difference between barriers and guardrails, right? Guardrails keep us safe. When I am driving around a mountain, I like nothing more than to have a guardrail. I mean, if I don't see a guardrail there, I'm just like, I'm not looking at the view. It's scary to me. I want that guardrail. It's not a barrier. And when we work from home, we need to have guardrails. They keep us safe. They protect our time. They protect our health. They protect our energy. And so think about the guardrails that you implement, whether that's around communication. I'm only going to respond within these hours. Within your time, I'm going to work within these hours. Outside of these hours, if you need me, decision tree, text me, or whatever it is that you want people to do outside of your hours so that you're not on your laptop or your phone all the time. Maybe you have guardrails around lunch and that you actually take one. Who here schedules focus time? Okay, keep your hand raised if you keep it and you don't schedule over it. Okay, I saw a few people. Yeah. We have good intentions, but now we have so many meetings that we just schedule over it, a lot of us. Scheduling that time is important, especially in your roles. But we also need to make sure that we allow our team members to schedule that time. And that they don't feel like they have to be reactive to every notification that we send them. And I say reactive, not responsive. There's a difference, right? And if we know that, going back to the beginning, that productivity decreases by 40% when we have notifications and pop-ups on, we don't want them to be reactive. We want them to be responsive. So we need that focus time, But we also need to make sure that our staff has that time, that they can put do not disturb on their computer, that they can say, after 5, I'm done, or after 6, I'm done, whatever their time is, that we allow them to have the guardrails that they need. Our emails, our inboxes, often feel like fire hose, especially when we have notifications on, but it can be a faucet that you turn on and off. And you want your staff to turn on and off that faucet. Because context switching or switch tasking, where you're going back and forth between 2 or 3 things, we think quickly, but we always lose time in that switch. We always lose time in that switch. And if they are working on a client or a project or a tax return or an audit or whatever it is, we don't want them to be going back and forth to the inbox, back and forth to the inbox. Because the 40% is for general things. But when the task involves numbers or formulas, it actually is worse. It's actually worse. I encourage you to allow them to turn off their faucet. And you too, of course. So in Outlook, it's called Work Offline. Who works offline in Outlook here? Caitlin does. Okay, Jason. Okay. That is just like being on an airplane without Wi-Fi. Anybody in here ever work on an airplane with no Wi-Fi and you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I'm getting so much done. Oh, I love it. People can't get to me. You get to inbox 0 for the first time in your life. Well, not if you're on airplane mode though.
So that you're saying that button will work across the Teams and everything?
No, so this is just for Outlook, but you can turn your Teams notifications off.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But the work offline, so for those of you who don't know what that is, it's like being in airplane mode. But the emails stop coming in, but you can respond and process to everything that's in your inbox. And they sit in your they sit in your outbox until you click work offline again. So it allows you to catch up and not be distracted by everything that's coming in. We want people to do this. In Gmail or the Google Workspace, there are 2 extensions you can use, Inbox Pause and Inbox When Ready. I'm a Google Workspace user. I use Inbox Pause, which means that I can send emails out all day long, but I don't see the emails coming in except for when I've scheduled them to come in. Now I can always go and do a search for somebody's name. I can search for Kim or Caitlin, and I can see if they've sent me anything. But it allows me to not be distracted by what's in my inbox all day. Because while your inbox is important, that's not why you were hired. Nobody said, I am the best email checker you will ever meet when they interviewed. I bet when you've interviewed people, you said, how good are you at checking your email? Are you fast at it? Probably not. When you were interviewed to be a leader, did you talk about how responsive you were in your inbox? Probably not. If you did, it'd kind of be weird. But it is important, but it's not why you are where you are. Oh, yes, you have a question. Hit me.
So how do you suggest approaching managers who expect immediate responses to emails?
Send them this video recording. Have them call me. No. So that is something that we have to retrain people on culturally. We have to retrain people on culturally because, I know that probably half of the people in this room are my age or older. We were just given email, right? Nobody was taught how to use it. We just had an email one day, and then it just kept growing until it became this wild, wild west, and with really bad habits we have. And we felt that reactivity was better than responsiveness. And reactivity is better than being effective. So it might have to be that there's a cultural shift within the company. But if that company is much bigger, it may just be, okay, who can I make this shift with? My team, right? Who can I make this shift with? Maybe just me and my manager. Or maybe just 2 or 3 of us. At least for us, we don't have to be reactive or responsive. But here's the other thing. We think people need us more than they do. We think people want us to be faster than they actually do. I had a CPA I worked with about 8 years ago. She was a fractional CFO for 5 companies. And she would work all, night, weekends. She was always available to her other Cs. And she wanted to quit working at 6 p.m. every day. And I said, well, stop working at 6 p.m. every day. She said, but what if the Cs need me? I said, just do it for 2 weeks. So she felt a little sick inside, but she did it. And what she figured out was 2 things. One, all of the emails she got at night and on the weekends, not a single one of them in 2 weeks was important or urgent. They all could have waited till the next day. The other thing that she learned was, in the past, when she would respond at night, then she was stealing their evening back. She was stealing their weekend back, and she was continuing the loop. So she's been doing this for the last 7 years or so. Now she's a VP of Business Development. And she still has her hours, but only during certain things like audits does she lower her guardrails or open up the fence for a specific period of time. And then she shuts the fence again, shuts the gate again. But she also has the decision tree in place. If it is important or urgent, she wants them to text her. That to her speaks urgency. Yeah. Okay. Another guardrail. Lunch. We need to allow people to take it. And we need to take it. How many of you eat lunch in front of a screen? Yeah. It's so much easier at home, isn't it? Yeah. It's not productive, though. The 2 things that can help your productivity the most in the afternoons, screen-free lunch, nature, going outside. Have lunch outside, double whammy. You're on fire in the afternoon. Eat lunch outside. Here, from a health perspective, why you want to step away from the screen. Brian Wansink is a researcher at Cornell, food researcher. He discovered that people will eat up to 30% more calories later in the day if they eat lunch in front of a screen. That's a lot. 30%, because we're not satiated. It doesn't imprint on our brain that we've eaten anything. So we are more likely to snack. We want people to step away so that when they come back, they are on fire. They have more energy. So as a manager, when I'm coaching anybody in a hierarchical position, I say, if there is one thing that you can do for yourself, encourage them to take lunch. And for those of you, and I'm a reformed screen lunch eater, for those of you who think, but I'd rather be done earlier. That 20 or 30 minutes that you take to go sit somewhere and have lunch, even if it's just in the other room, you get that back in focus and attention in the afternoon. It's hard to believe it. It doesn't, but it's true. It's true. But if nothing else, think about it from the health perspective. That you're more likely to snack. And you're actually more likely to snack on chemically concocted vending machine delicacies wrapped in crinkly packages. Who in here does something that they already feel creates a sense of trust with their employees? That they feel is very effective, that they'd like to share? Yes?
Not in on all the decision making. Like we hired 2 new employees in my department. I never did that before I was the managing partner.
So not feeling like you need to be part of all the decision making, and you hired 2 new employees at your firm and you were not part of that. Yeah. That's good. Delegation, people often don't understand what that means. They think it means just give somebody a task and then take it back. Delegation is ownership. That's something else. Using that word, own, you own this. So my team members, like I have Rhea owns all systems. Lisa owns client-facing tasks. Andrea owns the podcast. Like there are things, and we use that terminology all the time. Own changes things internally, but also from a management perspective, because then you're not taking that on. Yep, good, I like it. So information share. We've been in the cloud for a long time. However, people still find this challenging. So what do you find challenging about sharing information with people that are remote? We already talked about the drive-bys, right? That's just an information share. Like where I used to just say something to you for 2 minutes as I was walking past your desk. Now I don't really know how to tell you that, in just something that I was going to share with you in 2 minutes. Do I email you? Do I set up a 5-minute Zoom meeting?
Yeah, we have found, with remote and sharing information, everybody's go-to is to send an email. And emails is such an overload way of communication now. Things are getting missed. People aren't seeing them just because it's on overload.
Yes. So what is your name again? Kim. Kim says that they're struggling because people are putting everything in an email, and people are already getting email overload and they're missing things. Because it's just, how do I share this? Or how do I even share that, the personal things in my life? When we went back to, I think it was you that said one of the things you have a challenge with is just like the personal connection. How do we share the personal connection? One of the clients I have in Boston, they said, they were getting email overload. They were like, we used to show our phone with the picture of our dog, oh, look what my dog did this weekend, so funny. But now we're sending the picture in an email. And then somebody follows up with a picture of their kid, riding their bike for the first time. And these are coming in over email because it used to just be something like, look at my phone. We don't know how to share them. So what we came up with, they use Microsoft Teams, is they have a Teams channel that is just for personal stuff. And I see some heads nodding. So do you have something similar to that, sir?
Well, not for that necessarily, but using Teams for those focused types of content.
Yes. Yeah. That people can go to when they have a chance or when they want to, if they want to at all. Right. Because some people are like, I don't care about your dog. I don't care about your dog. And in the office, they would know you didn't care about your dog. They probably wouldn't be like, hey, look at my dog. They'd just pass you by. But in the remote world, they're going to include everybody on the picture of their dog. I have nothing against dogs. Okay. And green shirt.
Yes, we have 3 channels. We have in Slack. One's funny, so
Funny? He has 3 channels in Slack. One's funny.
One's random.
Random.
And then one's personal. Personal news, hey, birthday party of the kid, all that stuff. So
Personal news, birthdays, things like that. I like that because people can choose to be social or not choose to be social. Yeah. Do you work together, the two of you? Okay, you shook your head that you had something, that you're doing something?
With those, like, I was more shaking my head about the 2-second things when somebody drops my
Oh, yeah.
Not really necessarily the personal, but like the 5 seconds, do this. We just do Teams. We say, are you available? And just do it as if they were walking into your office. Because it's faster.
Yeah. So what they do is in Teams, they just do a quick chat, are you available? And then, and boom, instead of like, let's set up a meeting. Yeah. The way we do it at my company, so we use ClickUp project management system, which I'll talk about in a minute. Well, actually, we'll talk about it now. So we use a project management system, but for our verbal, like quick things like that, we use something called Voxer, which is a walkie-talkie app. So how many of you in here use a project management system? Okay. If you don't, I highly recommend it to get your tasks out of the inbox. Get your directives out of the inbox. So we use ClickUp, and everything is templated. Almost, like so much is a template. So for me, and this is something like you guys could do, not from speaking, but setting up, onboarding new clients or something. I mean, all of this is a template. It's assigned to different people. Every time I get a speaking engagement, the template, all I do is insert the date, the template pops up, everybody's already assigned with the dates. It's so much less work if you have a project management system. And things don't get lost as often. That, yes. So it can link with Outlook. Well, depends what you mean by link. You can forward emails from Outlook and Google Workspace, but not like a drag and drop. It's not like that. Yeah. But Microsoft does have Planner. Does anybody in here use Microsoft Planner? Okay, Caitlin does? Okay. So it's kind of new. I don't even know if it's available to everybody yet, but Microsoft Planner is their project management system. But this is so go back to the Loom videos and all the time you spend training people. So this is part of our project management system. We have this team how-to. All of these are you can either see there's a link to a video or there's just general instructions. If somebody asks me something even once that I think anybody ever will ask me again, it becomes a team how-to. And what's great about having a project management system like this is you can just, if somebody's like, I have a client gift, all they have to do is type in gift in the search and they'll find the how-to. So think about starting out with some videos that you can make. Like, what do people ask me all the time? What is it that people ask me? And this could be clients too. And just start a list of videos. And the thing about Loom that's great that you can use with clients is you can have a folder that's just for clients. And it can be all your onboarding stuff. So other project management systems, Asana, Microsoft Teams is not really project management, but some people can use it that way. And Trello is another one. These are just the common ones. There's a lot of project management systems, a lot. But these are just like the big ones. Okay. Raise your hand again if you use a project management system. Yeah. Navy shirt, I think, in the back. What do you use? Yeah.
We actually use Asana and Microsoft Teams.
You use Asana and Teams. So tell me how you use Asana and Teams. Asana's Asana's for your marketing team. Great for that because you can drag PDFs and graphics and things. Yep.
And then Microsoft is for our tax and audit team.
Microsoft Teams is for tax and audit teams.
They're broken down to the groups too. So we have broken down groups that can put all that stuff into.
Yeah. So you can break them down into the different groups. The thing that's nice about things like Asana, ClickUp, Trello is that you can share them externally with clients. Like you can just have certain folders and share those externally with clients. So a project management system will remove a lot of that email overload that people are feeling. Anybody else doing something from an information share perspective outside of video sharing or video training or using a project management system that I have not spoken about that they feel is effective? Yes, green shirt.
I combine a couple of things that you mentioned that I think are helpful. So we're using ClickUp as our project management tool. So if I go in there to do my review notes, if it's something that I'm going to, instead of typing it all out, doing this sketch screenshot and all that stuff, I'll put a Loom video inside my review notes and say, here's kind of what I'm thinking, here's how I found this, and here's what you need to do to fix it.
Yes, so he also uses ClickUp, and he will put a Loom video in the ClickUp, in the task itself, explaining to whoever is, tasked that to. ClickUp also has the capability to do a video in ClickUp. Yeah, you actually don't even have to do Loom, you can just, it's hidden. I might have just changed your life right there. Yeah, so you can do a video even within ClickUp. Yep. Okay. So all of this, too, goes back to decision tree as well, right? What things are to be emailed? What are to be texted, if at all? When do you need to call me? And when you think about how is this going to be easy for them, don't text a task. Why should you never text a task? Because if you send another text, it moves up. They don't see it anymore, right? If you send 2 more texts after that, that thing's gone. And if you're like me, I delete all my texts at the end of the day because I have some of that stuff's confidential, or because I have accidentally texted the wrong person so many times. With something that I just delete it and start every day clean. So think about where will it be easy for that person to assign a date to it and actually follow through on the task. Yes?
One thing we do is we have the staff send 3 managers a daily to-do list, what they think they might get done.
Oh, I like that.
So it helps because sometimes I'll have talked to a client and their 3rd, 4th, 5th thing on their list is should be their first thing. So I fully I was like, hey, actually do that one instead of that one.
Yeah.
So it helps in that.
No.
So I know what they're going to try to do that day.
Yes, I like it. That is actually part of another workshop that I give. Yeah, that's good. So what is your name? Tim. What Tim does is he has his direct reports email him every day in the morning their top priorities for the day. And they'll list out what they're going to do. Maybe they list 5 things. And they may think that this thing at the top is their highest priority, but actually Tim's like, no, it's not. It's actually the 4th one needs to be moved up. And so that's good for you to know, but it also makes people be intentional about what their priorities are and really think through, what are the things that I have to get done today. So. And it gives them the checklist. Yeah. It feels good. It feels good to check a box, doesn't it? Yeah. Yes?
I was just going to add, we did the same thing, but we moved it off of email because of all the emails.
Yeah.
We save it in SharePoint now.
Okay.
Everybody can just go see it. You can see everybody's, and the seniors or managers, whoever's looking at it, can give the same feedback, but with fewer emails.
Yes. Yeah. And your name is? Shauna. Shauna does the same thing. They used to do it in the email. Not good. but they moved it into SharePoint, and now everybody can see it. And that's kind of like the weekly stand-up, because so it's a task for everybody on our team to do the weekly stand-up on Friday. It's also a task on Monday for everybody to review everybody's weekly stand-up. Yep, I like it. One-to-one meetings. Who finds them challenging now that they are, you're like, me, that was a high raise. Why do you find that challenging?
They always take longer than you expect. And then you end up starting to blah, blah. And then you're like, okay, this is supposed to be 5 minutes.
Yeah, they take longer than you expect. What else? Anyone? One-to-ones? Do you feel as managers that you don't have as much personal connection with your staff? Yeah, okay. Because you're remote? Or because they're remote? Yeah, okay. I had a boss for 8 years that I never met in person. Never met her. I had her from 2003 on, and actually that's not true. I met her the very last year that I worked there. We were all remote. She was in Canada. Her team was spread out all through the United States. And this was before video, so I never saw her face. We only talked by phone, and I felt very close to her. Very close to her. I mean, we were very effective that way. So sometimes it feels more challenging because it's not what we're used to, right? It's also different for an extrovert than an introvert. There are some people that are like, this remote stuff is great because I don't like to see the dog pictures and I don't care about the birthdays and I just want to sit in my hidey hole and work, right? But then there are other people that are like, I need faces. I need to elbow bump or shake hands or, see people's pictures of their dogs. But one-to-ones is what I hear managers say I'm struggling with if they used to do them face-to-face. Because they feel like part of that thing that they're missing is the personal connection. Because the meetings are already running long, and it feels like almost like I need to ask them how their life is, right? I need to get this in. And over the last year, we've wanted to know too, right? Like, how are you doing? Because there's been certain periods of this last year and a half that when you said, how are you doing, you really meant it. Like, I need to know how the mental health is of my staff. So one company that I've really been impressed with is called All Elements. And they're a meeting platform, but not like Zoom or GoToMeeting or anything like that. But they have a whole process and section for one-to-ones that works in with your agendas, and they have a list of questions to ask during your one-to-ones. I don't even know how exhaustive that list is. It's broken up into different sections, but they have over 100 questions for remote workers that you don't even have to think about what you're going to ask people. The questions are just there. After every meeting, people can give feedback. It's excellent. They are a startup. I have been very impressed with them. The link is in the digital go-to guide that you can download later. But if you contact them and you say, I heard Marcey Rader talk about you at AICPA, they will do a free demo for you. But I've really been impressed with them since they started. How many of you do walking meetings? Just one? Okay, so what is your name again? Tanya? Tell me why and how you do walking meetings.
When I was completely remote, if I was doing a meeting with a team member and we weren't going to be needing something to share on the screen, I would pop in my AirPods, I would have them pop in their AirPods or whatever, and then we'd walk and talk.
Yes. So I call them walkie-talkies. And so when Tanya said if she didn't have anything to share on a screen, they would just pop in their iPod or AirPods and they would walk. So we are all getting pancake butt from sitting all day long, because at least when we'd go into the office, we'd like walk from the parking lot. We'd walk down the hall to go to the bathroom. I live in an 1,100 square foot house. It does not take me very many steps to go to the bathroom or the kitchen. That's one thing people that wear Fitbits and Apple Watches that they said, when I went remote, oh my gosh, I'm walking like 2,000 steps a day, and that's when I go to get the mail. You know, I'm like, I'm not moving anywhere. And you don't realize just like having to walk like to the next room to get coffee 3 or 4 times a day, how many more steps you get. So walking meetings are great for one-to-ones. They are not just good for your butt, they're good for your brain. So if you were outside with somebody, which, yes?
We've even done it with multiple people, though.
Yes.
You can add more, so it's not just the one.
It's not just one-to-ones, yeah. But typically 3 or less people are best, because then you can't, please don't be the group that takes up the whole greenway, and walks the whole greenway. But if you live nearby, you could meet at a park or something and do this. I've done this, I do this a lot, actually. I'm known for this, and Raleigh is doing walking meetings. It increases creativity and collaboration. So when we are walking and moving, or does it have to be walking, just moving, both sides of our bodies, the neurons start to connect between the 2 hemispheres, and after about 15 minutes of that movement, it increases our creativity. When we are out of our normal environment and away from that wonderful screen, we are more creative, we are more collaborative as well. But here's the thing about being a boss. If you're doing it face-to-face and you're walking side by side, this works. If you're on the phone and doing walkie-talkie, it also works. It reduces real or perceived hierarchy. So this is also good to do with your kids, especially your teenage kids. Because if you're walking side by side, you are more likely to be open and honest. So if you want to ask your teenager where they were on Friday night, let's go for a walk around the neighborhood, right? So think about walking meeting. Think about walking meeting. And typically, when I do this, I will put it in the calendar invite. Marcy and Lily walkie-talkie, so that they're prepared. I also do not talk to a single family member or friend unless I'm walking around my neighborhood. They know they're going to hear my door open and shut. Now, here's the difference. If you live somewhere that's really loud, it can be distracting. Lots of sirens or, dogs barking or whatever. So instead, you could use that for like webinars or things that you just listen to. Because it's very hard, all of you on the video, I know, it's very hard to just stare at a screen. Your hands just want to start doing something, right? So it might actually be better just to put on your AirPods and walk around your neighborhood and listen instead. So one thing that I also do when we onboard somebody is everybody, and we do this once a year, is we have them complete an owner's manual. This came from Adam Grant. This is my version of it. But we have them complete these questions, and then I refer back to them about once a quarter so that I don't forget. But it's basically how you work with me. And then after about 6 months, and then we do this yearly, people write owner's manuals for us. How to work with Miss Marcy. How to work with Marcy. And it's a warning or a tip to new people. But I have found this to be very helpful. Anybody in here do anything for one-to-one meetings that they feel is very effective that I have not mentioned? Green shirt.
I'm Joseph, by the way.
Joseph? Yes, I was just going to say, and your name is?
So I started them all out just by doing how are you doing personally? And I found that's been effective over the last 12 months. Just start simple and how are you doing?
Yeah, and that goes back to that, we really mean it when we say that lately. So Joseph says, how are you doing? And means it at the beginning of his. So I start everything with what's new and good. I start all my coaching calls that way, and all my one-to-ones, all my team meetings, what's new and good. And in a team meeting, how we start is everybody goes around and says what's new and good. We just do one thing. Yep. So remote work setups, this is where we'll wrap up. Having a proper remote work setup can make all the difference. This is mine. It is overload. I do not expect everybody to have this amazing work setup. This is like my favorite room in the house, my office. Not everybody can say that. But we actually remodeled during COVID. We flipped our bedroom and my office because I was like, I'm a speaker. This is a $12,000 office because I needed all that stuff. People don't need all that stuff, but it was game changer for me just feeling like I had everything that I needed. But standing desk, huge. Having that option to sit or stand can make such a big difference, and an external monitor. And if any of you are interested in all the gadgets and GetUp and all that, I have a video, 2 different videos. One's called Healthy Home Office, and the other one is Virtual Speaking Home Office, but I have the whole list of everything that I have there. But even something as simple as the floor mat, the anti-fatigue mat, that was $50 to send your staff. But you don't have to have that crazy setup. So I had this sit-stand desk, which is $299, on my screened-in porch. And I would take my laptop out there quite often. I don't right now because I live in Raleigh and it's really hot right now. It's usually more of a fall, spring thing. So that's my client, Yalmar. He is a pilot in Belgium. And that little desk that he has is $9, I think, on Amazon. He just folds it down and travels with it. I have a travel standing desk upstairs in my room right now. But, here's a $9 gift for you, or a $50 gift for you. And they can move it around their house. My little portable desk, I'll move around my house too. An external monitor is key. It is key. I would think especially for accountants to have some kind of external monitor. Yes?
We just gave our team a $750 home office setup.
So you gave your team $750 home office setup? Good for you. And let them choose whatever they want. I like that. Good quality mic if they are meeting with clients a lot or you do podcasts or something like that. A good webcam, you can now get them. For a while, people couldn't even get them. And good headphones, because you don't want the extraneous noise. But those are simple. I actually like the credit better, because then people can say, well, I already have this and this and that. I just want that anti-fatigue mat. Or maybe they say, see that desk? It's $399. It's a bike desk. The platform on top is rubberized, meant for a laptop. Yeah. And to wrap it up here, this is my client Marie Noel, who works remotely. She literally packs up her office every night into this bag and puts it in her closet. Because she said, I just don't feel like I have good separation. So she packs it up and puts it away. It makes her feel like a transition. She said, I used to have a 45-minute commute. Now I have about a 2-minute tear down, and I put it in my office and go. So to recap, we talked about guardrails. They're not barriers, but we all need them. And we need to allow our staff to have them. So that could be a group discussion. You know, what are our guardrails around times and communication? Decision trees, using videos to shorten your video. Having some kind of weekly stand-up, but maybe it's just a once-a-week stand-up, and it can even be in a project management system. Focus time and allowing for yourself, but also allowing them to have focus time where they're not expected to respond. Having people create owner's manuals for themselves. Doing walking meetings or walkie-talkies. Giving a proper remote work setup. And encouraging and taking yourself screen-free lunch. And if you are somebody who eats in front of a screen all week long, then maybe just choose like 1 or 2 days a week that you don't. And maybe the goal is more days than not, I don't eat in front of a screen. Because it's not realistic to think I'm never going to eat in front of a screen. Even I do it sometimes. Even I do it sometimes. All right. So in the download, which I hope will be up in the app by the end of the day. If not, just in case, if you want to, you can leave your business card, and I'll just email it to you. For those of you on the, I keep saying Zoom, I don't even know if it's Zoom. I shouldn't say that. For those of you on the video, he's going to put the link in the chat where I can email it to you. But there is a go-to guide with all of the videos, apps, references, resources. And there's also a digital tip sheet summarizing the 5 different things. Yes?
What are some ways you handle new employees that want to be remote?
How do you handle new employees that want to be remote?
Yeah, like remote out, like right from the start.
Remote out of the gate.
Yeah. That's a thing that we're coming across that we, I think, lost a couple good candidates because we wanted them in the office for a period.
Yeah.
We kind of get used to it, and then they have the option. So
Yeah, so you wanted them in the office first, and you feel like you lost them because they wanted to be remote right out of the gate. Yeah, I have to, like I said, I was always remote. I was always remote, and I never had to go into an office. It's just a new world. And it is a buyer's market right now, as far as where you choose to work.
We hired him.
You hired him. Yeah, he got him. He got him right there. Yeah. You can make that requirement, but it's going to be challenging for you. It's going to be challenging for you. Yeah.
We didn't necessarily need to. It just kind of, that was our thoughts of like learn the other stuff.
Yeah.
And kind of get used to it a little bit.
It's a paradigm shift. You are not the only one, trust me. It is such a paradigm shift in an orthodoxy. So you and then Joseph.
I was just going to follow up because I had that question on the app.
Yeah.
How do you train? Because we're really finding people who are new to the accounting profession, real green,
You don't know what
new.
they know.
They don't know what they're doing.
Yep.
And the Zoom environment is not, we've lost a lot in training across our entire firm.
Yeah.
In the past, so it doesn't matter. Any advice?
Yeah. Using the screen share and having them do it with you on there, creating those Loom type videos. The training videos. And then one more, Joseph, and then we'll wrap up.
You had on your previous screen, two slides back, one of your best tips was team building. So I'm curious if you have maybe just a couple of quick ideas for team building.
So for the team building, the 2 things that I have found to be the most successful are those weekly stand-ups where everybody reads, not like for the whole company, but maybe just for the department. but also, and this is in the digital, in the go-to guide, there are some really great companies that specialize in things like virtual scavenger hunts and virtual karaoke competitions. I mean, they have been so creative with team building, and so we provided a few links in there. Yep, so, all right. Well, thank you all for joining me. If you have any other specific questions, please reach out to me. And, this is here. This is it. Remote work environment. So have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, everybody,
Thank
for
you,
coming
too.
in today.